Well, thanks for tuning in to our web exclusive. I'm Kelly Sullivan alongside Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio, and we have a lot of international issues to get to. But most importantly, we want to start off with the ongoing crisis in Iraq. Each day there seems to be a new development and the problem continuing to grow, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, Kelly, what's happening is, each day that goes by, there's more and more geography that changes. And now you have basically 1/3 of Iraq, which is Kurd, the dissidents, basically Sunni Islamists, and obviously the Shiites, which controls Baghdad right now. The more that grows, the more concern there is that it will be extremely divisive. It will fracture, and God knows what will happen after that. But most likely it'll change Iraq for a long, long time to come.
And, initially we were sending 300 troops, and now we're sending even more. What's the message here? Is it still, no ground troops, no actual fighting, but just there to protect the Americans who are there?
Initially, we talked about not having any ground troops on the whatsoever. But then we have what is referred to as mission creep. Initially, it was 300 just to take care of the embassies. Now you have well over 700 to take care of the embassy, and those troops obviously protecting the embassy. And as much as you have some air possibility with drones and those kinds of air ordnance, undoubtedly there will be an additional requirement for more troops on the ground, and that's referred to as mission creep. Same thing happened in Vietnam years ago, and the same thing happened in the Mideast as it relates to Iraq. Then you had the surge, and it gets into a whole quagmire. I really hope we don't see more troops on the ground. We'll be right back where we were in 2001.
All right, so only time will tell as far as that situation. Now moving to the other situation in Ukraine, a ceasefire ending there.
Yes, ceasefire ended there, and you have once again a dilemma between pro-Russian, pro-Ukraine, and they both will never decide. But most recently there's been some suggestion that Russia has been supplying arms and munitions to the dissidents pro-Russia. And if that's the case, you have Crimea, which is already going over to Russia, eastern Ukraine, which perhaps could fall and go to Russia, and you have another divisiveness into 3 parts in Ukraine. Very dangerous situation.
Initially, at first, too, you almost thought maybe it was just Russia flexing its muscle, but do you think it could be a little bit more than that?
I think so. I think it's pretty evident right now that there is some, undoubtedly some Russian interdiction as to exactly what's happening, and certainly the influence in reference to supplying weapons to those pro-Russian dissidents within Ukraine itself.
Another alarming issue, 3 teenagers found dead in Israel. A lot of growing concern over that.
It is. There's never been a solution. I'm not sure there'll be a solution in at least the foreseeable future. But each time an incident like this happens, Israel will demand revenge. And even in the last several days as we speak, there's been differences of changing the basically ordinance from one in the form of rockets to another. And Israel right now has people in the streets demanding revenge. Hamas perhaps has been responsible, although it's not taking credit for that. It is applauding that action, which just exacerbates the whole scenario, and you will undoubtedly see more unrest between Israel and Palestine.
It seems like that unrest just continues year after year.
It does.
And just taking one more issue locally here at home, as far as the VA is concerned, we know it's been an issue with veterans receiving adequate health care and in time. Now we have a new leader of the department there, and it's Robert McDonald. What do you think of that appointment? Well,
in Providence, the VA in Providence has been historically a pretty good organization. The fault that they have is because it's expanded beyond Providence area into greater Boston and so on, and parts of Boston and parts of Massachusetts. The waiting time for initial visits with a primary physician has extended considerably. That's the downside for Providence. Otherwise, the specialty care and other things in Providence did rate a pretty high mark, so that's good. McDonald taking over the leadership, he has vowed to take care of veterans and make them first and foremost focus for the VA. That's absolutely essential, and I hope we see that.
All right, and thank you so much, Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio, and thanks for joining us here on this web exclusive.